Speaker is Sandra Itzel Vera Paz. She's a PhD student in the Institute of Biology of the National Autonomous University of Mexico.
Okay. Hi, thanks to all for coming. I'm going to talk about a recent paper that it's a result from my master's degree project. So, okay, so first of all, I want to say thanks for the funding to let me be today here. And well, as an introduction, you know that understanding the spatial and temporal frameworks of the lineage diversification is essential in biology evolutionary. So some challenges that we know that it's difficult to generate molecular phylogenetic hypotheses. Oh, sorry. For species-rich lineages of rapid diversification, as well get informative data for divergences occurring in quick succession, and generate sequencing data for a dense taxon sampling. So one strategy could be go from Sanger sequencing to next generation sequencing strategies, as for example, Hyb-Seq. I don't gonna go deeper because it's a strategy that Carolina explained us. But as I remember, we use genomic DNA, and it's possible to get different percentage of enrichment using next generation sequencing, and you can recover DNA from different chloroplast, mitochondrial, and nuclear data. So that information is for know or test phylogenetic hypothesis, but about the geographic framework, we have different sources of geographic information as public databases and tools for handling this geographic data. So we select a model of study that is in the family Bromeliaceae, genus Tillandsia, subgenus Tillandsia, which is the clade K. Just to remember, the clade K was proposed by Barfus in 2005 as a monophyletic, and then also Barfus et al. Increased the taxon sampling and recovered the same clade. But as well, Pinzon in 2016 recovered or did a taxon sampling along the clade K, including the monophyletic clades K1 and K2. And after that, Granados-Mendoza expand more the taxon sampling and include most of the species along clade 2 and K1. So those works were using Sanger sequencing, and as you know, at the first talk, we include in the past publication with complete plastomes using next generation sequencing. We include a few species along the or inside the clade K. So it's interesting the way we select that group. We know that have a species mostly in the neotropical from 0 to 3,000 meters of elevation in a wide range of vegetation types. As well, we know that they have a widely diverse of morphological forms. So, what we know about the biogeographic studies? Well, the study we have the study of Pinzon and the study of Granados-Mendoza. Pinzon just focusing in the clade K2, so just include 3 species from the clade K1, and Granados-Mendoza, as I mentioned, include different species from both clades. As well, they did also select and regionalizations different, particularly in Mexico, but both studies recovered the origin or proposed the origin of the expanded clade K in the northern of the Andes and the diversification in Central America and Mexico. So with all this information, the questions that we proposed to the research questions were, now what are the fine scale phylogenetic relationships of the expanded clade K? what are the spatial and temporal frameworks for the origin and the diversification of the expanded clay K, what was the dispersal route, and which climatic and tectonic events could have promoted the dispersal route of this clade. So the methods that we followed to answer that questions were, first, we did a taxon sampling in the expanded clay K with 93 species. And as well, we include another Tillandsidae genera, Tillandsidae subgenera, and species complexes. And as you know, we have not fossils in bromeliaceae, so for the calibration, we include other bromeliaceae and the facile lineages from calibration. We did field work, we obtained silica tissue, and we did the species identification. We using Hyb-Seq protocol using the anchor hybrid enrichment with the percentage that Carolina just told you. And because we did a sequencing effort of 2 gigaparagraphs, we can recover chloroplasts from the different sources. So we meaning the Plastome information from the Hyb-Seq. We did the Plastome assembly, the Plastome annotation. We recovered a full Plastome matrix, and we did a phylogenetic reconstruction and the divergence time estimations using BEAST in secondary calibrations. And to the points calibrations were obtained from Ramírez-Barahona phylogeny. So for the geographical data compilation, we consult different geographic sources as online databases, collections, and fieldwork. We use these coordinates and we clean it, we validate the species distributions, and we follow in different regionalizations for the nootropics following those works. And finally, we did the ancestral area reconstructions. So we did 2 analyses. The first for the origin of the expanded clay K. So we used widely regionalizations along the nootropics and the complete taxon sampling. After that, we did a second analysis for know the dispersal route of the expanded clay K using a subset of the taxon sampling and a fine scale regionalizations inside Mexico. For the 2 analyses, we compare different biographic models using biogeovirs, and those models adding the founder event speciations parameter. We have a lot of results, so I'm just gonna deep on the results for the expanded clay K, but the rest are in the article. So about the phylogenetic reconstruction at divergence times, we recover the origin about 6.94 million of years, and the origin and the diversification of the expanded clay K about 4.86 million of years ago, and we recover the expanded clay K and the clays K1 and K2 as monophyletic, and the clade paniculata and secunda in a relationship as a relationship sisters. Well, we recover only 10 to 92 nodes with low statistical support, and those nodes are inside the clay K. And it is possible because the clay K2 is more diverse than the clay K1. Overall, congruence with previous studies using Sanger sequencing loci. Also, the studies for the complexes inside the subgenus. And as we expect, we recover phylogenetic discordance when we compare the next generation sequencing nuclear base with phylogenetic contexts, for example, the Jardini. So, about the origin of the expanded clay K. Well, so we recovered the origin of these clays in the combined areas C, South American Transition Zone, and B, Boreal and South Brazilian dominions. And from here, our studies suggest a long-distance dispersal to Mexico and Central America. Supporting our hypothesis, we recovered the biogeographic model plus the founder event parameter. And as well, at the time, the species were already in Mexico and Central America, species in the expanded clay K. The Panama Isthmus and the North Central Andes weren't fully formed. For the dispersal route of the expanded clay K, we can see fine regionalizations inside Mexico. So the expanded clay K is recording the combined area G, Pacific Lowlands and Balsas Basin provinces, el Cabo de Baja California District, the Mexican Transition Zone, the Mosquito, Veracruzian, and Yucatan Peninsula provinces. From here, we also recovered that area as the ancestral area for the clade K1. And from here, we recovered several range contractions, 4 events, and range expansions, 7 events, from the ancestral area to the different areas in Mexico. As well, the expanded K2 recovered the ancestral area of the expanded clay K, and from here recovered geographic range contractions, 5 events, and geographic range expansions, 4 events, from the ancestral area to areas in Mexico, but also out of Mexico. So, also in the clay K2, we recover the first earlier dispersion out of Mexico to South America, to the Nearctic area, and to the Andean area. As well, some climatic and tectonic factors that could have influenced the dispersal route of the species within the expanded clay K could be the climate oscillations for the glacial and interglacial periods, and as well the volcanic activity for the Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt and Central America volcanic arc activity. So most of the other highlands were already formed when the species are in Mexico and Central America. So some conclusions that we can do. So for the phylogenetic relationships were overall high statistical support recovery. The expanded clay K as K1 and K2 were recovered as monophyletics. We recovered general agreement relative to previous Sanger-based studies, but phylogenetic discordance when comparing with hypotheses for nuclear next generation sequencing data. About the spatial and temporal frameworks, we recovered expanded clay K, colonized in North and Central America, specifically the Mexican Transition Zone and the Mesoamerican Dominion, by long-distance dispersals from South America at least 4.86 million of years ago. About the dispersal route of the expanded clay K, we record that after dispersing the Mexican Transition Zone and the Mesoamerican Dominion, we record series of distribution range expansions and contractions, as well as subsequent dispersion events to the Nearctic, as well to the Caribbean and to the Pacific and Dominion during the 2.8 million years ago. And finally, some climatic and tectonic events that could have promoted the dispersal route of the expanded clay K could be climatic fluctuations for glacial and interglacial periods, and as well the volcanic activity of the Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt and Central America Volcanic Arc. Finally, I want to say thanks to all the co-authors, the my research funding, the institutions. You can read the complete paper here. And as well as all the people that help us in this work. Thanks.
Thank you very much for questions. Thank you. That was a great talk. How easy do you think it is to distinguish between long-distance dispersal contrary to range expansions, like gradual expansions? Do you think there's enough information in the data for that?
Well, the data that we used were comparing the ancestral range recovered with the actual range geographic distribution, but we know that we did more analysis to already prove that expansions and contractions. Yeah, and also include more species to coverage a bigger percentage of the geographic distribution. Thanks.
Any other question? There's one.
Thank you for the nice talk and congrats for the work. You told about species complexes. You put species in this new matrix, expanded with new species. Where did the species of this complex behave along the tree? They put together in a clade, or the different species from the complex you cited?
Yes, we're mixed it with the previous studies. So, or I think I don't get your question, sorry.
You mentioned that you put a species of species complexes in this new matrix. How did these species behave along the tree? The species of a certain complex grouped together, or are they scattered along the tree?
They group it together.
Oh, nice.
Any other question? Thank you very much.